In one of the most intense endings to the regular season ever, Sutjeska's dramatic defeat in Zadar cost the team a spot in the ABA League next season. The playoff matchups were already well known, but the home field advantage went to Crvena Zvezda in the final round. Another ABA League record fell in Ljubljana. It took 4 overtimes to decide the winner between Olimpija and Partizan. And we are wrapping up the show with top plays of the round. Welcome back to ABA League magazine. Megalex will be seriously depleted by injuries in the semi-final series with Budućnost. Dejan Milojevic lost Alpha Kaba to knee injury. The French big man will be out for at least 2 months. Ognjen Jaramaz is expected to miss at least 3 months after he broke his tibia bone in the 4th quarter of the matchup with Metalac. The winner of the Radivoj Korać Cup trophy previously lost Aleksandar Aranitovic to an ACL injury as well. Cedevita coach Veljko Mršić has been awarded with a 3-year contract extension. With his current contract due to expire at the end of the season, management of the EuroLeague participant from Zagreb, satisfied with the team's results, decided to keep Mršić on the bench for 3 more seasons. Sutjeska's entire season, as well as the fate of 5 other teams in danger of losing their privilege to participate in the regional competition next season, came down to 1 shot in Krešimir Ćosić Hall. In a crucial game in the battle to avoid relegation, Sutjeska was defeated in Zadar 85-83 and, like Typhoon, lost a spot in the regional competition after just 1 season. Both teams had a shaky start to the game. There were missed shots and turnovers on both sides of the court, but visitors from Nikšić managed to find some offensive rhythm and grab a 3-point lead at the end of the first period. Igor Jovovic's team kept the rhythm up in the second quarter, racing up to a double-digit lead, but the home team responded, and with a 3 from Kozi cut the lead to 3 at the halftime. Zadar went on an 11-0 run to begin the second half. They kept a double-digit lead all the way to the beginning of the final period. When it seemed Zadar was on its way to a decisive victory, Vranjes sparked a comeback for Sutjeska. The visiting team took the lead with 3 minutes left to play, but Zadar hit back with another scoring run. The fight was far from over. A bucket from Korać put the visitors back up 80-79 with a minute left to play. Delaš made both free throws, prompting Sutjeska's coach to call for a timeout, but Vranjes was unable to score. Delaš was once again perfect from the free throw line to give Zadar a 3-point lead. Bašić quickly fouled Vranjes, who sank the first and intentionally missed the second free throw, when after his miss, shot a corner 3. Joko Šarić was all alone on the rebound, but he missed an open tip-in to force an overtime. Kozi was Zadar's top scorer with 18 points, while Sutjeska's fight to avoid relegation came to an end despite a 17-point effort from Vranjes. The longest game in the history of ABA League was played in Ljubljana. For the first time in the regional competition, we saw 4 overtimes. In the most interesting game of the round, Olimpija beat Partizan in Tivoli 118-115. Home team held the lead throughout the entire first half, stretching it to 14 points, 42-28. Partizan woke up in the third period and cut the lead to 2. Partizan scored the first 12 points in the fourth quarter and held Olimpia scoreless in the first 5 minutes to take a 66-58 lead. Olimpia got back into it, and after 3 missed free throws from Muric, Robinson scored to send the game into overtime. First 5 additional minutes saw Olimpia take the lead 83-77, but Vitkovac was there for Partizan to force the second overtime. Now it was Partizan's turn to take the lead 93-87, but the home team equalized with 3-pointers from Lapornik and Zakis. In overtime number 3, Olimpia was a step closer to the victory, but Wilson scored 6 points in a row to send the game into a record 4th overtime. Olimpia kept its focus and was awarded with the win. Wilson was the top scorer for the losing side with 41 points, while Jones added 32 and 11 rebounds. Partizan ended the season at the 5th place in the standings, regardless of the loss that came at the hands of Sava Lešić, who dropped 32 points on them and grabbed 21 rebounds, followed by Lapornik, who added 25 points. Math behind this game was pretty clear. If Sutjeska had won in Zadar, with a loss to Crvena Zvezda, Krka was in the tough spot, facing almost certain relegation. Defending champion needed a victory to claim home court advantage in the semi-final series against Cedevita, and the home team came through, winning 77-67. But a win from Zadar kept Krka safe from elimination. Needing a win, team from Novo Mesto started off well. Team led by Vladimir Anzulovic took an early lead of 7. Mike Cirbes held his team in the game with 10 points in the first period. In stark contrast of the first period, when they scored 25 points, in the next 7 minutes visitors managed to score only 2 more. EuroLeague participant from Belgrade wasted no time to take the lead. They couldn't score from the distance, but they knew how to get points in the paint to take an 8-point lead. Scoring runs followed in the third period. Krka got within 2. Crvena Zvezda went with 8 unanswered points to grab a double-digit lead for the first time. Slovenian Cup winner responded with a 10-2 run, but the home team responded with 10 unanswered points. That was it for the visitors, as Dejan Radonjic's team cruised to the 20th victory of the season and the 2nd place in the standings. MVP of the game was Mike Cirbes with 21 points and 9 rebounds. Terence Kinsey, who played a significant role, especially in the third period, ended the game with 15 points, while Marko Simonovic added 12. In a losing effort, Rebec scored 12 points, while Ivanov, Lalic and Lapornik added 11 each. Apart from being the last one, ABA League Final Four tournament held in Kombank Arena will be remembered as one of the most dramatic ones in the history of regional championship. The regular season's top team, Crvena Zvezda, entered the first semi-final against Cibona as an absolute favorite. Dejan Radonjic's team ended the season with 22 wins and only 4 defeats, and their opponent for a spot in the championship game and the EuroLeague as well, Cibona, was facing financial difficulties and came to the Final Four with a diminished roster. In front of over 8,000 spectators, the team from Zagreb pulled off an upset against Crvena Zvezda 75-70. The hosts were terrible from beyond the 3-point line, with Jaka Blažić providing the only offensive firepower with 25 points. On the other side, Blessingame was unstoppable with 28 points, while Šarić added 15 rebounds to the tally. Cedevita made sure that the championship game in Belgrade would feature 2 teams from Zagreb. In a rematch of the semi-finals in Tel Aviv 2 years prior, an extremely interesting and dramatic game, Cedevita stunned the defending champion Partizan. With 15,000 fans in attendance, the game was decided by an amazing half-court buzzer beater from Nolan Smith. The final result was 81-79 in favor of the team from Croatia. In the championship game, Cibona was an absolute underdog once again, but the Cinderella story wasn't over. Despite the financial problems, Cibona won the only trophy absent from the club's rich trophy case. However, lack of funds took away the dream of playing in the EuroLeague from coach Slaven Rimac and his team, the one they fought so hard for on the court. However, their wonderful storybook run in the Belgrade Arena will always be remembered.
Cibona je u proteklih 10-12 godina imala svaki put kvalitetniji tim od ovog, a ova ekipa će na kraju prvi put u istoriji Cibone podići pehar za pobjednika Jadranske lige.
Kako objasniti sve to?
Nikako, ovo je ekipa koju ne možete, zato jeste košarka čudesna igra, najbolja na svijetu. Rozić na novu asistenciju Šarića zakucava. To jeste draž košarke. Ne možete ovo da objasnite koje god stručnjaka da ste pitali pred ovaj Final Four. Niko nije davao ni miligram nade ekipi Cibone da će ovdje nešto napraviti. Još jedna četvrta blokada Šarića. Oni ne samo da su nešto napravili, nego su osvojili titulu šampiona ovdje u Beogradskoj areni. Ekipa koja je imala ogroman broj izgubljenih lopti protiv Crvene zvezde i sada protiv j.t.d. u finalu, koja je inferiorna u skoku u malte ne svim segmentima košarkaške igre, a evo ih kao osvajači Jadranske lige.
Fantastičan uspeh za ekipu Cibone. Promašao je Zupčić, dodatno slobodno bacanje. Čekamo samo konačan rezultat ovog finala. Šarić koji ovdje peva sa navijačima već. Traje slavlje. Možda čak nagazi out liniju Baždarić koji onako u očaju gleda ka sudi Vojnoviću. Po mom mišljenju možda čak i veće iznenađenje od onog što je napravio Zadar, jer Zadar kad pogledamo s ove distancije imao puno kvalitetnih igrača u toj ekipi. Marko Popović.
Makabi je neuporedivo kvalitetniji od ove ekipe j.t.d. Kraj utakmice, Cibona prvi put u svojoj istoriji osvajač Jadranske lige. Rekli smo pravo košarkaško čudo, poštovani gledaoci. Ovaj tim koji je prepušten sam sebi, zaboravljen od svih, koji vrlo često ove sezone nije imao ni 10 igrača da igraju 5 na 5 na treningu, na kraju u nevjerovatnom raspletu osvajaju Jadransku ligu bez ikakve dileme. Najbolji igrač Final Fora, Dario Šarić.
The league-leading team Budućnost bested Cibona in a game that had no competitive significance. The team from Zagreb came to Podgorica without a talented center Ante Žižić, while the home team's captain Suad Šehović was sidelined with a shoulder injury. Both teams had good rhythm on offense in the first period. 10 points from Tadija Dragicevic gave Budućnost a 7-point lead. In the second, visiting team responded through Siriščević and Žižić to come within one. But Budućnost went on another run to a halftime lead of 44-38. Luka Pavicevic's team didn't let up, and after a successful three-point attempt from Jenkins, went up by 13. Chaos broke out in the second half with a lot of turnovers on both sides. Budućnost was the more resourceful team in this type of game, and went on to win for the 23rd time this season. Dragicevic was the top scorer with 16 points, while Maric added 14. Siriščević scored team-high 16 points for Cibona. Budućnost will play Megalex in the semi-finals, and the first game in the best-of-3 series will be played next week in Podgorica. In the first game of the 26th round of ABA League, j.t.d. grabbed a decisive win over MZT 89-64. Team from Skopje was safe from elimination following a win over Typhoon in the previous round, while on the other side, j.t.d. was looking for a win that would bring them to the second place at the end of the regular season, providing that Krka pulls off an upset against Crvena Zvezda in Belgrade. Marko Lukovic and Gorjan Markovski did make the trip from Macedonia, but MZT still held its ground in the first 6 or 7 minutes. However, Miro Bilan sparked a 14-0 run spread over 2 quarters that gave j.t.d. an 18-point lead, 28-10. During the first half, coach Veljko Mršić used all 12 of his players in rotation, and every last one of them made a contribution to the ever-growing lead with some shots on target. The home team was so dominant it took a 31-point lead in the third period, 64-33. Giving some extra playing time to the players who usually don't get as much minutes on the court, j.t.d. kept a huge lead all the way to the very end of the game. In Cedevita's 19th triumph this season, Henry Walker and Miro Bilan scored 16 points apiece, while the defeated team's top scorer was George Drenovac with 21. Although lacking depth at center with Kaba and Veljkovic both injured, Megalex put a triumphant end to a great regular season run. Dan Milovic's team repaid Metalac for the defeat in the first part of the season, but in all honesty they were far from brilliant in Sremska Mitrovica. Mega took advantage of the pressure they had against hands, tied and won 77-64 thanks to better defense and offensive rebounds. After a weak performance against Krka, Luvavo came out strong in this one and helped his team take the lead. Metalac had trouble with ball pressure from the home team. Mega used offensive rebounds and points in transition to make up for a number of missed field goals and gained a 10-point lead in the first half. Metalac had a chance to reduce the deficit, but 8 missed free throws and only 1 out of 12 three-pointers on target proved costly for the team of coach Vladimir Djokic. In the second half, a 10-0 run got the visitors within 2. But the playoff-bound Mega managed to go back up by 6 by the end of the third period. Same story was retold in the final period. Metalac got to within 3, 67-64, but Mega would hold the opponent scoreless until the final buzzer while dropping 10 more on Metalac. But it was a sour victory because in the last period they lost Ognjen Jaramas due to injury following a dunk on a fast break. He broke the tibia bone and is in for a long break. Metalac has a lot to think about before the start of the Serbian Super League. Following a performance with 22 turnovers and 10 missed free throws, the defeat didn't cost the team led by Nikola Jeftovic 16 points a spot in the ABA League next season. Luvavo led the scoring list with 17 points for Mega, while Danilo Nikolic scored 12 of his 14 points in the second half. In the game that had no particular impact on the standings, Igokea subdued the already written off Typhoon 81-76 in Celje. Coach Bajic's team recorded their 11th triumph and ended the season in 9th place, while Typhoon already lost their spot in the regional championship next year. During the first half, the rivals were in a shooting mood and the lead changed hands often. The home team came out on top 23-19 in the first thanks to Stanko Sebic. The visiting team turned the game around at the start of the second period, following a 10-0 run, grabbed a double-digit lead for the first time. However, that wasn't enough to end the halftime with a lead, because the defending Slovenian champion was back on top with some inspired play by Sandi Čebular. Roller coaster ride continued in the second half. Igokea scored 9 unanswered points, but Typhoon found strength for another run. However, Igokea still held a 9-point advantage entering the fourth quarter and kept the lead until the final buzzer. Danilo Šibalić was the game's top scorer with 21 points, including 5 out of 6 three-pointers on target. Radivojević scored 2 less, while Katnić added 12. Saying farewell to the ABA League, Sandi Čebular scored 18 points for Typhoon, while Stanko Sebic added 1 less. The MVP title for the 26th round of ABA League goes to Sava Lešić. He ended a spectacular game in Tivoli with 31 points and 21 rebounds after 4 overtimes. Sava Lešić spent 52 minutes on the court in a 43 index value points performance. Jamar Wilson, Partizan's point guard, had himself an excellent individual performance in Ljubljana with 41 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists for a total index value of 46. But as Olympia celebrated this time, the MVP title went to Sava Lešić. We start off the top 5 countdown in Sremska Mitrovica with the magnificent collaboration of Metalac's big men Jeftovic and Majstorovic. Centers know each other well in Tivoli too. Zakis with the assist to the MVP of the round, Sava Lešić. Henry Walker decided to wake up the fans in Zagreb with some powerful slam dunks. First with some help from Danilo Mijatovic and then with a 360 to finish things off. Second place this week goes to Terence Kinsey, breaking ankles on 2 defenders and down the lane for a stylish dunk. The top play of the round comes from Pinky Hall in Sremska Mitrovica. Rade Zagorac showing off his athleticism on a fast break, dunking with a foul from Kočović. This has been the last ABBA magazine in the regular part of the season. Next week we'll be analyzing the first games of the playoffs, when Budućnost welcomes Megalex, while Crvena Zvezda hosts j.t.d in a rerun of the finals from the previous season. Stay tuned!